Okay, so I'm gonna start by sectioning the hair off at the bottom, clipping the rest up, and using about this much product for each section. So I start by working the gel through really well with my fingers. I'm like a newscaster. And then taking the wet brush and brushing it through the hair really well. I want the hair to feel really slippery. So if it feels sticky with the product, I add a little bit more water. And I'm gonna unclip. I'm gonna start around her temples. Drop down another section and move up the head. I can tell that this hair is already starting to dry out. And I can tell because it's starting to get a little bit frizzy. So I'm gonna go ahead and soak it down with more water until it feels more saturated. It doesn't have to be dripping, but nice and saturated. So if I were to squeeze the hair, water would come out. I make sure to get the gel all the way up to the roots. And as I move up the head, I brush each section out from the scalp because it's gonna help us to have a little bit of extra lift rather than brushing it very flat.
I love Saturday. It's just such, I love that kind of weather. Just,
So since Lisa parts her hair over here, I'm gonna be taking this last section, very last, making sure I have hair from the left and the right side of her part, and we're gonna be pulling this all straight up. But before we get there, since she is a side parter, we're gonna have this extra section over on the right side to deal with, and I'm gonna be styling that the same way. Adding water. Adding a nice amount of product. Just working it through with my fingers first. And grabbing our brush and making sure that the hair is detangled and smooth and slippery with the product. So now we're at the top section and we'll be pulling this all straight up. But since this is a lot of hair to do at once, I'll work from the back forward in a couple of smaller sections. So I take the brush and I brush and smooth it with my hand and brush and smooth it with my hand until there's no tangles at all. And I always like to finish by smoothing with my hand and letting it fall because it's gonna help the curls clump together. Rather than if I just brushed it and let it fall, it would be a lot more stringy, small curls. Then once we get to our last very little section in the front, we could either take this whole thing and brush it up and back, and gravity will help it fall and it'll be a little bit more out of her face. Or for the face framing, you're probably gonna wanna do like your hair a little bit more laying in your face. We're gonna gently let the hair part, and I just use the brush to just guide those front pieces in the direction we're gonna want them to lay. Beautiful. So then, Lisa, I'm gonna take that towel from you. Thank you. So to towel dry, on a lot of clients, what I do is scrunch, but since we want to keep as much length as possible, what I'm gonna have Lisa do is lean to the side for me. I'm gonna have her lean to the side so the hair hangs down, and rather than coming up from underneath and scrunching and encouraging the curl, I'm gonna stick my hand under a really thin cotton towel and grab it like a rope and squeeze and release, just to take a little bit of that excess water out. Back out. And I'm gonna have you just ever so slightly tilt your head back. Perfect. And back up. Perfect. All right, do you want me to film drying too?
Yeah, no.
So that's it. Now we could air dry, but we're gonna diffuse really gently with the diffuser. And what the hair looks like when it's wet is generally what it's gonna look like when it's dry. So if there was like a stringy curl, like it looks pretty good, but I guess if I was picky, I could find this little piece right here. To get that to form with another curl, I'm just gonna gently kind of find a neighbor, hit it with a little bit more water, and gently squeeze it together. You can give it a little twirl if you want, and that will help it go with a neighboring curl family.
Okay.
Perfect.